Ever get that, like, shiver down your spine
Yeah.
when you just know something's going to happen, even before it does?
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe you walk into a room and just the energy feels off, but you can't quite put your finger on why.
Interesting.
Well, today we're diving deep into a phenomenon that might explain those moments. Clairvoyance.
Okay.
We're talking seeing beyond the physical world, tapping into something, well, beyond our everyday senses.
It's really fascinating to think about, you know, how much of reality are we actually not perceiving?
Right. It's like, what if there's a whole other layer of information out there just beyond our reach?
Yes.
Usually.
Exactly. And it's not just, like fortune tellers and crystal balls, though. We'll get to that.
Yeah, we're going there.
But the source we're looking at today breaks down clairvoyance into different types. Simple clairvoyance, clairvoyance in space, and clairvoyance in time. And it really challenges us to rethink how we experience, well, everything.
Okay, so simple clairvoyance. I gotta say, the word simple doesn't exactly scream like psychic superpowers to me.
Right.
But wait till you hear this. Imagine seeing the world like never before. Objects like see-through, colors way more vivid than we can even imagine. Maybe even glimpsing, those mythical creatures we thought were just stories.
It's amazing to think.
According to our source, that's the potential of simple clairvoyance.
It's really intriguing how the source breaks down simple clairvoyance into two kinds of sight.
Oh, there's more.
Yeah, so there's etheric sight and astral sight.
Okay, so 2-for-1 special on psychic vision.
Right, so etheric sight, that's like being able to see the energy that makes up, everything around us, like being able to see through things.
Built-in X-ray vision. That's already pretty cool.
Exactly. Like imagine looking at a wall, and instead of just seeing the wall, you see the wiring, the pipes, maybe even the people in the next room.
Okay, that's a little creepy, but I see what you mean.
But then there's astral sight, and this is where it gets really wild.
Okay, hit me with it. What's astral sight all about?
So imagine you're holding an old book. Not just any book, but like a first edition Shakespeare.
Ooh, nice.
Right. With astral sight, you wouldn't just see the words on the page. You'd experience his whole history, like who owned it, where it's been, maybe even the emotions attached to it all at once.
Whoa. So it's like tapping into the hidden, I don't know, life force of objects. It makes you wonder if those stories about objects having spirits in them, maybe there's something to that.
Yeah, it really makes you question what we think we know about the world.
But the source says full-on clairvoyance, where you're experiencing both etheric and astral sight all the time, that's, quote, exceedingly rare.
Right.
So most of us, if we experience it at all, it's likely in flashes.
Exact.
Those gut feelings that turn out right, those times you just knew something without knowing how you knew, or even like those dreams that feel hyper-real.
Yeah.
I mean, those are all like little hints of our own psychic potential.
It's an incredible thought, isn't it? That we all might have this potential just waiting to be unlocked.
Right. It's like if we could all just tap into that power, what else could we be capable of? So maybe we're not all rocking the whole X-ray vision thing 24/7, but what about those times you just know something's happening miles away?
Oh, absolutely.
Like you get that phone call, but you already knew who it was, what they were going to say.
Cuckoo.
Right. Or you just feel this like pull towards someone who's far away. That's where things get even weirder, right? We're talking clairvoyance in space, no teleportation needed, at least not the Star Trek kind.
Right. This is where our source gets into this whole idea that distance, like physical space, might not be what we think it is.
So trippy.
Right. Like what if those times you just know something's happening somewhere else? What if that's not just a lucky guess, but a glimpse into a whole other layer of reality?
Okay, but how? How does that even work? Are we talking like psychic text messages across continents? What does the source say about how this long-distance seeing is even possible?
So the source actually lays out 3 different methods.
3. Okay, lay on me.
The first one is through, get this, astral currents.
Astral currents. Sounds a little new agey, even for me.
Maybe, but stick with me. Imagine like a network of energy, these invisible currents flowing all around us, connecting everything.
Okay, so kind of like the Force.
Kind of.
Yeah.
The Force describes these currents as like a psychic telephone line. We can tap into them to connect with people and places, no matter how far away they are.
So I'm picturing those old tin can telephones, except instead of a string, it's these astral currents. And instead of voices, we're sending like impressions, feelings, maybe even images.
Exactly. Though the source does say these currents, they can be a bit finicky.
Finicky how?
Well, they're easily disrupted. Strong emotions can mess with them, lack of focus. It's definitely not as easy as making a long-distance call.
Yeah, psychic static sounds like a real downer. All right, what's next on the long-distance clairvoyance menu?
All right, this one you might have heard of, astral projection.
Ooh, yeah, like out-of-body experiences. Didn't we cover that in our lucid dreaming deep dive? It's so cool how all this stuff seems to, like, overlap.
For sure. Definitely some connections there. But in this case, our source is talking about astral projection as a way to experience clairvoyance in space. Like your astral body is taking a little field trip while you're, just chilling at home.
So it's like sending your mind on vacation while your body stays put. Sign me up. No packing, no airport security lines, just pure psychic travel. I love it. Okay, method number 3. What we got?
This one's supposed to be the most challenging. Thought form projection.
Thought form projection. Okay, that sounds intense.
It is. We're not talking about just like casually daydreaming about being on a beach somewhere.
Yeah.
It's about like really focused, intentional projection of your consciousness to a specific place, and then not just seeing it, but maybe even interacting with it on this astral level.
Whoa, that's some next level stuff. It's like straight out of a movie. But with that kind of power, the ethical questions come up, right? Can you use these techniques to like spy on anyone, anytime?
That's where it gets interesting. The source is pretty clear that simply wanting to see something at a distance is not enough.
So there's like a psychic code of conduct?
Kind of. They say you need something more. A psychic connection, like a personal object that belongs to the person you're trying to connect with.
Okay, so no spying on random strangers. That's probably for the best.
Or even just a strong emotional bond can create this connection.
So it's more about tapping into an existing link, not just barging in wherever you want. That's kind of reassuring, actually. But what about seeing through time? Is that on the table too? Or are we veering into, like, Back to the Future territory here? So we've covered seeing through walls, sending our minds on, like, psychic vacations.
Right.
Pretty wild stuff, but what about those times you just feel like you've been somewhere before?
Oh, I know exactly what you mean.
Like way more than just deja vu. Like you're actually reliving a memory, but it's not yours.
It's a strange feeling.
It really is. So is it really possible to tap into the past? Or even glimpse the future?
Well, that's where we get to clairvoyance in time.
Okay.
In our source, they suggest, instead of thinking about time as like a straight line,
Yeah.
think of it more like a swirling river.
A river. Okay.
Right. Everything that has ever happened, everything that could happen, it's all still out there, like echoes or ripples in this river of time.
Okay, so less Back to the Future, more like mental time travel. I like it. But how do we even access these, like, time echoes?
The source points to something called the records of astral light.
Records of astral light.
Yeah.
Sounds kind of ominous.
Right. Imagine like a universal archive.
Okay.
A library of every event, every thought, every possibility that has ever existed.
Talk about information overload.
Right. It's a lot to process.
So I'm picturing like those scenes in Indiana Jones, those giant hidden chambers full of glowing scrolls and stuff.
I love those scenes.
Right. But instead of words on a page, we're talking about experiencing these events like firsthand, like watching a movie in our minds. But it's made of like pure energy and memory.
It's a powerful image. But the source is clear that accessing these records, it's not as easy as, just pulling a book off a shelf.
Yeah, probably not.
It's described more like gazing into a pool of water.
Okay.
Sometimes the reflection's clear, sometimes it's totally distorted.
Right.
And our own interpretations, those can create ripples that muddy the water.
So it's not necessarily about getting this like perfectly objective view of the past, but more like catching glimpses, feeling the vibe of what happened. It kind of makes you think about how our own memories work, right? Like they're not always, totally accurate. How we feel, how we interpret things, that definitely colors how we remember stuff.
Absolutely. And it brings up these really interesting questions like, if our perception of the past is so fluid, does it even exist as a fixed thing? And then what does that mean for how we approach the future?
Whoa.
Right? If we can potentially catch glimpses of possible futures, are we seeing set outcomes? Or are we actually influencing those possibilities just by observing them?
Okay, now my head is spinning. Free will, destiny, time paradoxes, it's all connected. If we can see a potential future, does that mean it has to happen? Or can we make different choices and change the outcome?
Those are some heavy questions, and honestly, I don't know if there are any easy answers.
Right.
But here's the really interesting part. The source suggests that we don't have to be like full-on clairvoyance to have these experiences with time.
Really?
Yeah. Remember those flashes of intuition we were talking about?
Yeah.
Those crazy real dreams?
Yeah.
Those could be our connection to this astral light those echoes of time.
So those times we just know something good or bad is going to happen, or we walk into a place and it feels strangely familiar, even though we've never been there. That could be our own psychic abilities, like trying to get our attention. I don't know about you, but that's kind of blowing my mind a little
Yeah,
bit.
mine too.
Hmm.
And that's what I love about this kind of deep dive. It's not even about whether clairvoyance is real or not. It's how these concepts, they make us rethink everything. Our relationship with time, with how we perceive the world, even with like what's real and what's not.
Right. It really is a trip when you start to go down these rabbit holes. And I think that's what we do best here, right?
Absolutely. And who knows, maybe by exploring these possibilities, maybe we unlock something in ourselves, some potential we never even knew we had.
I'm here for it. Well, that was a wild ride. To our listeners, if you're getting those deja vu vibes or you just know something's up, don't ignore it. Pay attention to those gut feelings. You might just surprise yourself with what you discover. This has been an awesome deep dive, mind bending, thought provoking, and yeah, maybe even a little spooky. Until next time, keep exploring, keep those minds open, and we'll catch you in the next episode.